Okay, I'd like to bring this meeting to order. The Village of Villa Park Board of Trustees regular meeting, March 25th, 2024. Clerk Kornecki, please call the roll.
Trustee Alfano?
Here.
Trustee Cordova?
Here.
Trustee Corkery? Trustee Kozar?
Here.
Trustee Kumar? Trustee Patrick?
Here.
President Kazone.
Here. If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together this evening. May we have meaningful discussions that will help us to assist our village in these trying times. Help us to make the decisions that will affect the staff, directors, and residents of Villa Park. Guide us through the challenges we face, and may we approach each other with respect and kindness as one group. In your name, amen. Here come to item 3, amendments to the agenda. Do we have any amendments? Okay, seeing none. Public comments on agenda items. Anyone signed up, Clerk Kornecki?
I have no one signed up.
Anyone for comments on agenda items? Public comments on non-agenda items?
None.
No one signed up? Anyone? Okay. No proclamations, presentations, or appointments, so we'll move on to item 9, consent agenda. Bill listings for the week, March 11th, 2024, for $579,005.01, and March 18th, 2024, for $42,994.75, for a total amount of $621,999.76. Approval of the minutes of the March 11th, 2024 Committee of the Whole and the Village Board of Trustees meeting, and acceptance of the minutes from the March 2nd, 2024 Coffee with the Board. And we have a motion for the consent agenda. Trustee Patrick?
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion.
Okay. Second, Trustee Cordova?
Yep.
Okay, questions or comments? Trustee Alfano?
Yes, I was reviewing the minutes from Coffee with the Board, and I believe that there are some errors in names. I do not believe that one of the residents listed was actually in attendance for Coffee with the Board. So I think that that should be clarified. I do not believe that Joe DiTomaso was in attendance on page 70 of our packet.
Okay.
And then also, I would appreciate if we change the wording of what I said at Coffee with the Board, where I advised residents that the connector path was the starting date was for May 1st. I was advised by staff, and that's what I had mentioned to the resident. So I was advised by staff that construction would resume on that the tri-trail on May 1st. I would like for those changes to be made for
Okay.
those minutes, please.
Our village attorney has said probably what we should do is just remove that, and we can bring it back at another time. We'll make those changes.
Okay.
Okay, so we get a motion to remove the acceptance of the minutes. Would you like to make that motion?
Actually,
Do we have to do-
all you have to do is remove item C from the consent agenda.
Okay.
And then after the consent agenda is approved, we'll go back to item C to, discuss those changes to the minutes. And we
Okay.
can make those, then we can make the necessary motions in that regard then.
Okay.
Thank
Do we need
you.
to vote on that, or just take it off?
No, it's just removed, so no
Okay.
vote is necessary.
Okay, so we'll remove item 9C from the agenda, and so just vote on the item A and B. Okay, any other comments? Clerk Kornecki, please.
Okay, Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
President Kazone.
Yes, okay, should we bring that up now? Okay, so your discussions, Trustee Alfano.
Yes.
So we'll remove, do we need to Tomaso from there, and then just amend your comments?
Yes, that I was advised by staff.
Okay. We'll just vote on that? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so, we need a motion? Okay. Okay, so we get a motion to approve the minutes of the Coffee with the Board from March 2nd, 2024 as amended. We have a motion. Trustee Kumar.
I will make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second? Second. Trustee Kozar? Okay, any comments or questions? Okay, Clerk Kornecki?
Okay, trustee Cordova,
Yes.
trustee Alfano,
Yes.
trustee Kumar,
Yes.
trustee Patrick,
Yes.
trustee Kozar,
Yes.
President Kazone.
Yes. Okay, move on to item 10A is an ordinance for first reading, authorizing the disposal of surplus personal property of the Village of Villa Park, Illinois, which is Fire Engine 80. Manager Harlan.
Sorry, I was trying to find the, give me just a half second. The ordinance okay. The ordinance authorizes the village manager to declare the 1998 E1 Cyclone fire engine, which has been known to this point as Engine 80, as surplus property, and authorize the village manager to transfer such property to the Northeastern Public Safety Training Academy, or NIPSTA, in exchange for $10 plus tuition credit valued at approximately $9,345. Staff recommends approval of the resolution. The ordinance is required by local and state law to declare the property surplus, but for full transparency, we also have a copy of the proposed IGA requested by NIPSTA to exchange the surplus engine from Villa Park to them for training at the aforementioned $9,345.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this is a first reading, so unless someone wants to waive the first reading, it's discussion only. Okay, any questions or comments? Trustee Kozar.
So $9,300 seems really cheap. Do we have a idea what that would fetch at auction?
If,
Chief Staples.
Chief Staples, yeah, please.
Great question, and we looked into it. The issue we have with Engine 80 is this is the one that has the cracked frame rails. So this is the reason why we bought the new engine back in January of 2022. So we looked at that. In order to fix the frame rails, it was in 2021, it was $50,000 to $60,000. The engine itself is not worth that. My research conducted, I found an engine comparable, likely situated between 20 and 40,000, but it had about half the miles. This one has 78,000 miles on it with over 7,600 hours of use. That coupled with the frame rails, I think this was the best option. We contacted the Romeoville Fire Academy. They didn't need one. We contacted Fire Safety Institute in Champaign. That's the one we donated our one engine to for $5,000 worth of training credit. So this one, we got almost double that. So we think this is the best option because they know about it. Their mechanics came out with our mechanics. They went over the engine, they took it for a test drive. They know about the cracked frame rails. And as long as it's not going to be used for emergency service like we use it for, they are aware of it and they're not going to fix it. So the choice is yours, but I think this is our best option.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions or comments, or anyone want to waive the first reading?
This is actually probably in the wrong section because this does not change the code and therefore it should not have been put in this section.
okay.
So it really doesn't require, but if it's in this section, if you feel, and that'd be up to Attorney Wolf, we should be able to adopt that at today's meeting.
Okay.
Yes, the fact that it's listed as first reading on the agenda does not require a first and second reading of it. So
Okay.
the motion that should be made, if the board wants to approve it, is just to approve this ordinance, and then it will be passed and approved today.
Okay, do we have a motion? Trustee Kumar.
Do we have to make a motion to switch it to the right section?
Sure, why don't we do that, just for clarification of the record? So
Yeah.
we
Okay.
can motion to move item 10A to section number 12.
Yeah.
Okay. Trustee Kumar.
I will make the motion to move item 10A to section number 12.
Okay. And we have a second on that? Trustee Alfano? Okay, questions or comments? Okay. So we have no ordinances for second reading. And item 12 will now become... Oh, yeah, that's probably good. Thank you. Okay, can we have a vote on moving that to item 12. Clerk Konecki.
Okay, trustee Cordova,
Yes.
trustee Kumar,
Yes.
trustee Alfano,
Yes.
trustee Kozar.
Yes.
Trustee Patrick.
Yes.
President Kazone.
Yes. Okay. So now we go to item 12, and that we are going to, is there a motion for the ordinance authorizing the disposal of surplus personal property, fire engine 80? Trustee Kumar?
I will make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second? Trustee Patrick? Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, now Clerk Konecki, please.
Okay, trustee Alfano,
Yes.
trustee Kozar,
Yes.
trustee Cordova,
Yes.
trustee Kumar,
Yes.
trustee Patrick.
Yes.
President Kazone.
Yes. Okay, item 13A is a resolution for proposed swim pool season pass rates and daily admission fees for the 2024 swim season. Andrew Harline.
This resolution sets pool pass rates for the 2024 season. Pool pass rates need to be advertised during the month of April 2024, so the season passes can go on sale in May. The rates were increased last year by 12.5%. This year, the staff in the Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission unanimously agreed that the season pass rate should remain the same, and the village should, thank you, continue to offer a family discounted rate and recommended that the daily admission fees should remain the same as in 2023.
Thank you. Okay, do we have a motion for the resolution? Trustee Cordova? We have a second? Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Questions or comments? Trustee Kumar?
Those are resident fees or non-resident fees? What's the deal with that, the fees?
Do you want to address that, Gina?
For pool.
Hi.
Hi.
Both resident and non-resident fees are listed in the resolution.
They're both not being increased, just, they're all staying.
Oh,
just,
yes,
yeah, around.
no, nothing has been suggested to be increased, resident or non-resident.
Okay.
Thanks. Any other questions? Hey, Clerk Konecki?
Trustee Patrick,
Yes.
trustee Kumar,
Yes.
trustee Kozar,
Yes.
trustee Alfano,
Yes.
trustee Cordova,
Yes.
President Kazone.
Yes. Item 13B is a resolution to select and approve auditors for the Village of Villa Park. Manager Harline.
The attached resolution authorizes the village president to execute an agreement between the village and Lauterbach and Amon LLP for the furnishing of audit services in a form approved by the village attorney for the contractual calendar year audit term 2023 through 2027. The resolution further authorizes the village officials, officers, and employees to execute and complete such other instruments necessary to engage the services of Lauterbach and Amon. Staff recommends approval of the resolution. In the resolution, there's a copy of the draft letter of engagement that Lauterbach included and that was included in the packet. Staff recommendation is to have a full agreement that allows for remedies in case of a failure of the contract auditor to perform services up to the village expectations. That is not in the packet, but would be developed along the lines of the letter of engagement. Director of Finance Chuck Howard here is to answer any additional questions. We are trying to get this approved because ideally, the auditor will start the first week of April to start doing the initial stages of the audit. We had been with a different auditor, and the timeline for approving an auditor ideally would be to have this completed in January, February at the latest, but because the engagement with our previous auditor ended so late, we are trying to get this through as quickly as possible. And again, Director Howard is here if you have any additional questions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have a motion for the resolution.
I'll make that
Trustee
motion.
Alfano, do we have a second? Trustee Cordova? Okay, questions or comments? Trustee Patrick?
Thank you. The only thing that I have is I've been approached by a few different residents now asking if you could explain why we switched from Sikich to this new auditor. Thank you.
Thank you, President and Board. Sikich actually came to us in November and said even though we'd be in the fifth year of a 5-year agreement, that based on the amount of work that they were doing and the rising cost, that they could not do our engagement at the agreed-upon contractual rate. They gave us some options for that, adding money for accounting services, or just doing it for a flat rate that is pretty much double what we've been paying. The village manager and I thought, well, we're going to be in this boat anyway in a year, so why not go out for a request for proposal on this? And we did. We found an auditor, Lauterbach and Amon, who can do this work at a rate for the contractual term that's less than what we're quoted by Sikich, which I think is a very good deal. I've talked with the partner. I've worked for and with Lauterbach and Amon, and the partner that I know will be here for field work, an exemplary person, and I think they'll be able to, as we've been concerned about, getting the audit done on time and in the correct format. So I don't think we lose in this. It's late, and we certainly want to get it done, but we've got the right folks coming in to assist us. It's a collaborative thing, and I think the people that we have can work with us. We don't have a lot of people involved in audit. We've got a lot of other things on our plate. We've got budget, we've got levy. We've got to really work with an auditor that will work with us.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, Clerk Kornecki.
Okay, trustee Kumar,
Yes.
trustee Patrick,
Yes.
trustee Cordova,
Yes.
trustee Alfano,
Yes.
trustee Kozar,
Yes.
President Kazone.
Yes. Okay, item 13C is a resolution to amend the intergovernmental agreement between the Village of Villa Park and the Village of Addison and the DuPage High School District 88 to allow body-worn cameras. Manager Harlane.
This resolution authorizes the village president to execute an intergovernmental agreement between the Village of Villa Park, the Village of Addison, and High School District 88, or D88, to provide school resource officers to Willowbrook and Addison Trail High Schools. That extends a current relationship to 2030 and includes language to allow SROs to use body-worn cameras when engaged in law enforcement activities, as now required by Illinois law. All parties are agreed to the general terms, and the staff recommends approval of the resolution. The final version of the contract may vary very slightly from what's in the packet. Right now, Dr. Jean Barbonente is in Italy, and we were having conversations about this and she was sending me versions through Google Mail, so I think we have exactly the same language. The only thing we're changing is extending the contract to 2030 and also including language that allows the police force to meet the state requirements, whereas not coming in conflict with any policies that D88 has with the wearing of body-worn cameras by SROs in the schools.
Okay, thank you.
And Deputy Chief McCann is here if you have any additional questions about how that program's working.
Okay, thanks. Okay, do we have a motion for the resolution? Trustee Patrick?
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Trustee Kozar. Questions or comments? Trustee Alfano.
I do have a question for our deputy chief, if you wouldn't mind. And it just pertains to if you could explain, because the questions that I have been fielding have to do with what exactly is the state law with the cameras, and how would that be handled when it comes to student privacy?
Well, the state law is any enforcement action, meaning any arrest, any investigation, any call for service, it has to be recorded on a body camera. There is an exception, community caretaking. So we do not have to record anytime it's just a community caretaking, which does fall into a lot of situations at the school. If it involves discipline or the dean's just looking for advice from an officer, they won't be recording those situations. Only if there's an investigation, arrest, or if, there's a 911 call and officers have to respond to the school, they would normally then activate their body cameras. As far as privacy, that's all regulated under FOIA laws and also the Illinois Juvenile Act law. Pretty much anything that involves a juvenile is not going to get released unless by court order, or if there are certain exceptions. For the most part, juvenile records are not released, at least not the names to identify the juveniles.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, Clerk Kornecki.
Okay, trustee Alfano,
Yes.
trustee Cordova,
Yes.
trustee Kumar,
Yes.
trustee Kozar,
Yes.
trustee Patrick,
Yes.
President Casone.
Yes. Item 13D is a resolution adopting a new schedule for regular meeting dates of the Village Board of Trustees for the calendar year 2024. Manager Harline.
The resolution adopts an amended schedule of meetings for the Board of Trustees for the Village of Villa Park to move the meeting of May 27th, which would fall on Memorial Day, to Monday, May 20th. Staff recommends approval of the proposed resolution adopting a new schedule for regular Village Board meeting dates for 2024. We just missed it when we put it out, the original schedule of dates.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a motion for the resolution.
Make that motion.
Trustee Alfano, do we have a second? Trustee Cordova? Okay, questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Kornecki, please.
Trustee Kozar,
Yes.
trustee Alfano,
Yes.
trustee Patrick,
Yes.
trustee Cordova,
Yes.
trustee Kumar,
Yes.
President Casone.
Yes. Item 13E is a resolution approving the joint purchase of bulk rock salt through the State of Illinois Central Management Services Bureau of Strategic Sourcing. Manager Harline.
The village annually, well, there's two back-to-back resolutions, by the way. The first one's with the state and the second one's with the county, just to make sure that's clear. The village annually purchases rock salt through an agreement with the state of the Illinois Department of Central Management Services, or CMS. This resolution authorizes the village manager to execute the joint participation agreement and make such purchases as necessary. The state of Illinois generally receives favorable prices because of the large quantity of salt that it purchases. The village must submit its rock salt request through a contract with the state of Illinois by April 7th, 2024, to be included in the annual bid. Village staff recommends entering into a contract with the state of Illinois for up to 400 tons of bulk rock salt.
Thank you. Okay, do you have a motion for the resolution? Trustee Cordova? Okay, do you have a second?
A second.
Trustee Kozar? Okay, questions or comments? Just a quick question for Director Guerra. It's been a pretty mild year. How far behind, how far ahead are we on our salt usage?
So we're way ahead. It should be noted, so we cut the quantities for this upcoming year to about half of what we normally get, or we normally contract, because of that. For the last two winters, we've actually struggled to meet our contract because we just don't have enough space to store the salt. So we did cut back on the quantity, knowing that we still have this summer to get salt. It should be noted that both the contracts have language in there that we're obligated to order 80%. So it's not the full 400 tons. So if we have another light winter, we don't have to get 400 tons. We can get 800 tons, or sorry, 400 tons on each. And then it allows for an extension up to 120% with the state bid and 130% on the county bid. So if we do run into a wetter winter with additional snow, we do have the ability to make sure that we're covered on the back end. But for the last 2 years, we've been kind of struggling to hit the 80% because we just don't have enough storage with our existing facility.
Good, good, thank you. Okay, any other comments? Hey, Clerk Kornecki, please.
Okay, trustee Kumar,
Yes.
trustee Patrick,
Yes.
trustee Alfano,
Yes.
trustee Cordova,
Yes.
trustee Kozar.
Yes.
President Casone.
Yes. Okay, item 13F is a resolution approving the joint purchase of bulk rock salt to the DuPage County Procurement Services Division. Manager Harline.
This resolution authorizes the village manager to approve requisition orders for the purchase of rock salt from DuPage County. Village has purchased rock salt through an agreement with DuPage County Procurement Service Division for at least the last 9 years. DuPage County generally receives favorable prices because of the large quantity of salt that they purchase, and village staff recommends also entering into a contract with DuPage County Procurement Service Division for up to 400 tons of bulk rock salt.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have a motion for the resolution? Trustee Patrick?
Mr. President, I'll make that motion.
Second, trustee Kozar?
Second.
Okay, questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Kornecki.
Okay, trustee Cordova,
Yes.
trustee Alfano,
Yes.
trustee Patrick,
Yes.
trustee Kumar,
Yes.
trustee Kozar,
Yes.
President Casone.
Yes. Okay, item 13G is a resolution approving and authorizing certain agreements with the Villa Park Youth Baseball Association and School District 45 for the use and maintenance of baseball fields. Manager Harline.
This resolution authorizes the village manager to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the School District 45, D45, and to enter into an agreement with the Village Park Youth Baseball Association that falls largely along the guidelines established in the proposed agreements attached to this resolution. The agreements provide for the detailed division of duties that assure that Villa Park Youth Baseball Association will have baseball fields in the best possible condition. The village will receive $9,000 in preferential access to D45 courts for indoor recreation and have a baseball available for Villa Park youths. D45 will only be responsible for mowing and basic maintenance of their fields. The village will coordinate scheduling and day of game preparation, coordinate the scheduling and day of game preparation of D45 baseball fields, and we will do our basic maintenance all day of the current agreement. Understands that the Youth Baseball Association will be able to do their day of game preparation, and that's why there's a $6,000 reduction in the amount paid to the village. Staff recommends approval of the resolution. Draft agreements have been prepared, and they'll have to double check. They should have been sent to the Youth Baseball and D45.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have a motion for the resolution? Trustee Patrick?
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second? Trustee Kumar? Any questions or comments? Trustee Kumar?
I'm just happy that we're coming to a resolution. It's been a long time coming, I think.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing that it's all resolved and everybody's happy now.
Yeah, I think this kind of meets everybody's, kind of in the middle.
And is it that D45 is taking over some of the striping?
No.
Not D45, the actual baseball,
Youth
youth
baseball.
baseball, sorry.
Yes.
I misspoke. Okay, so.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, that's exactly right.
I have a question, actually. Is this taking into account any increasing fields we may have with changes to our?
No, it doesn't. The anticipation, we can always edit the agreement in the future. This agreement is, I'm trying to remember what the term on the agreement was. Do you remember?
It's for this season.
Just to see, okay, that's
It's
what I
just a
thought. And
season.
I haven't looked at it since last week, so I didn't want to misspeak. But, so it's just this season. We'll see how, it's kind of an experiment to see how youth baseball does taking care of this. This is their first year to do it. They're working with volunteer help. The village, it will step in if something goes wrong, like if it's a day when they just can't get volunteers. It's clear that we will step in and then keep track of that time and then bill them for the emergency cost. So if there's an emergency comes up.
So they have a backup
Yes.
in terms of the village, and the agreement can be readdressed in a year or so if there's changes to, I mean, as we're fixing, our fields and
Yes.
moving on to possibly more fields as we grow.
Yes.
Thank you.
And just for clarification, when I say this season, I meant the spring, summer, and fall seasons of '24, so
Yeah.
2024.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, it's a year, so.
Yeah.
Trustee Alfano, do you have a question?
That was
Okay.
it was answered. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, Clerk Renecki, please.
Okay, trustee Alfano,
Yes.
trustee Cordova,
Yes.
trustee Kozar,
Yes.
trustee Kumar,
Yes.
trustee Patrick.
Yes.
President Casone.
Yes. Okay, item 14, unfinished business. We have none. Item 15 is new business. Item A is selecting a new electrical contractor for the Recreation Center for Lions Park. This item is informational only. Village staff will bring an agreement to the April 8th meeting to hire a new contractor for the electrical work at the Recreation Center. Manager Harline, I don't know if you want to go into.
Yeah, I can go into it a little bit and then and answer questions. So the previous contractor, Valley Electrical Contractors Incorporated, won the bid for $1,614,000 to do the electrical work, and it was Resolution 2374, that group of 25 resolutions that we passed back on August 28th. Their business they're going out of business. They I won't go into but their owner, Tom Cook, has been really great working with us to transfer the contract. We talked to Old Republic because there is a performance bond on this, and we had a conversation by Zoom, and Attorney Wolf was on that, as well as representatives from the Parks and Rec Association and Parks and Rec department and Mike Guerra from Public Works. And so the next lowest bidder was J. Hamilton Electric, and they haven't expressed interest. In fact, they have sent documentation that they'd be willing to maintain, since this has been written, they've sent documentation saying that they would honor their original bid, which is only about $50,000 more, which isn't much in a $1.6 million contract. So whatever additional costs there are should become covered by the performance bond. And so this is mostly informational. We should have, we believe that the way this is progressing, we should have a new contract for J. Hamilton at the next meeting. And I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that, Attorney Wolf, but we'd be happy to answer questions.
Question, was a lot of the work that was done, was it equipment that's already been ordered?
There's a very minimal amount of work that's been done. There is some equipment that is ordered and in the possession of Valley Electric, which they, of course, will turn over with credit, and then with, having been paid for it. And then there's some stuff that has been ordered but has not yet been delivered. And we will look through that list and make sure that those are vendors that J. Hamilton is comfortable ordering from. Actually, they've already talked about some of the subcontractors, and I think some of the subcontractors will be kept. I don't want to promise that, but those discussions have already been had. We're only about 11% into the contract, so 89% of the contract still remains out there. So if this was going to happen, and I think one of the reasons why Tom Cook from Valley Electric made it clear that he knew that this is as good a time to bring the village in on the problems he's having with his company, so the transition could be as easy as possible. So if you're going to have this happen, it couldn't have happened in a much better way. That was the discussion that we had last week.
Okay, good. Any other questions? Okay, so we'll see this hopefully on April 8th.
Yes.
That meeting. Great, thank you.
Just want to make sure you guys had awareness about what was going on out there. So.
Great, thank you. Okay, item 15B is a discussion on preparing an ordinance to amend Chapter 13, Article 18, Special Event Permit, further defining when a special event permit is needed for North Avenue car shows. Manager Harline?
Village staff seeks direction on addressing safety and nuisance concern with the ad hoc car shows that occur around and at Strat's Restaurant at 231 East North Avenue. This is not a new issue. In 2016, Ordinance 3912 was passed that defined new nuisance violations related to parking lots accessible to the public where vehicles were attending events on other properties. In the summer of 2020, the issue was discussed again. And apparently this is like on a 4-year returning schedule. And this summer, this spring, we've already had some incidents, and Deputy Chief McCann is here. What we're looking at doing at this point is is addressing the existing ordinance on special permits, and then reviewing the parts of the ordinance in Chapter 14 on parking to make sure that we have the proper approach. We've looked at these things before. We're going to try and come up with something that's a little more effective. We're hoping this problem doesn't last much longer.
Okay. Trustee Kumar?
Can you be more clear of what exactly the problem is? Can you discuss what the
Sure, I'll give you, so this Friday, not immediate past Friday, but past Friday, the Friday before that, I went out with one of the officers and spent 6 hours to see this. What I witnessed were mostly young adults. They were both at Strat's and other parking lots. They were along North Avenue. They were in the median on North Avenue. They're holding up their phones to take pictures. So they're in the unprotected median in North Avenue, kids looking at their phones, hoping to catch a glimpse of somebody peeling out of Strat's or, the modified engines with the really loud exhaust, that kind of thing, or racing up and down. We had a couple of cars that night racing up and down North Avenue, and that was a relatively peaceful night. The week before had been much worse. I've done it one night. Deputy Chief McCann has seen years. So I let him.
Car shows have been going on there for well over 10 years. So every weekend, Friday and Saturday, Friday is usually the busiest. These car show events occur, hundreds of cars, hundreds of kids. We basically take over North Avenue. But the biggest complaint is all the businesses around are complaining because they take over everybody's parking lots. They take over the auto shop next door, Midland Plumbing. Across the street, they take over the lots at Supreme Lobster, the mall. They've made it all the way down to Target and all the way to actually North Park Mall. So all these businesses are calling and complaining. All the residents that live behind there are calling and complaining about all the noise. So, I mean, we've approached this a number of different ways. Not this last Friday, but the Friday before. I mean, traffic was backed up all the way down North Avenue to almost Lombard. So at that point, there's kids in the street, there's cars racing up and down the street, there's cars that aren't bikes that are not stopping for the police officers on traffic stops. So we closed down this event. We blocked off the entrance last time. That's the approach we've been taking. But, we have our whole shift tied up at Strats every Friday and Saturday. And if the town is busy, which it usually is on Friday and Saturdays, there's nobody there dealing with it, and, unless we're called there for an emergency. So we've had to hire back on overtime, numerous weekends where we're hiring officers to work overtime just to deal with Strats. We've had our part-time unit, our part-time police unit, specifically assigned to the Strats detail, where instead of patrolling the whole town where you all live, they're just dealing with Strats every weekend. We've also assisted the businesses with blocking off their lots. We've done that for them. But in recent times, sometimes the officers aren't available, they can't do it. Within 10 minutes, their whole lot is filled with cars. You're dealing with people drinking in lots, throwing garbage around. Supreme Lobster has had their building damage at times. So the Supreme Lobster area there, last year they actually hired security. So they had to hire 2 security guys just to watch their lot all summer long. Not fair to the businesses. Crazy Pour is another one that complains. They've had to hire a tow truck driver just to sit at the entrance to the lot to scare people off from parking there. Because it gets so backed up and so busy that if they leave for literally 15 minutes, the whole lot's filled. And there's no one, then the Crazy Pour customers cannot park. So going back to 2020, the village did do a civil action against Strats. He has a number of things that he's supposed to follow. Honestly, even when he does follow them, it's hard to control the crowds that are showing up, even for him to show, as the business owner. So what we're looking to do in an ordinance, our ordinance for special events really is focused on events that someone wants to do on the public streets, a block party or a carnival that might be on the street. It really doesn't focus on a private business that's holding an event that has a mass gathering that's going to affect all the businesses around, all the streets around, all the parking lots around. So we're looking to get stronger language that if you're going to hold an event, you have to be able to hold that event and have arranged parking, either with agreement with businesses or on your own property. And if you can't do that, you can't have an event with 1,000 people. You can only fit a couple hundred people in your lot. Another part of that, our ordinance now says that you need to hire police officers if your event's going to need traffic control or to prevent fighting or whatever it might be. That's something we want to affect, and also a time limit. These events go on until sometimes 1 o'clock in the morning, and these cars with these loud mufflers that I'm sure, anyone who lives in town has heard. You can hear it all across town. So the people that live on Hill and Schiller, we've got emails from all those people. We've talked to a lot of them, and, they can't sleep at night because there's fireworks going off all night between the cars and actual fireworks also. So, I mean, it's become a safety hazard with the traffic, and we'd like to make the ordinance stronger to deal with a private property event that's affecting public property. If that makes sense.
Did you have something?
No, go ahead.
Trustee Alfano?
One question that I have in regards to parking in the other neighboring businesses, are they towing cars? Are they allowed to tow cars? How does that operate?
That's come up. We have tried to get the businesses to hire the tow companies to do that. However, when you have 500 to 1,000 people in an event, who's going to tow the first car? And you see what happens, you know?
Yeah.
So the tow companies have refused to come out.
Okay.
And even if they did come out with a couple trucks, I mean, it might scare them off. And that's a tactic we are trying to use. But, you know, as soon as the lot clears out, there's, 50 more cars pulling in. And these are not, the people that are going to these events are not, a lot of them aren't even from Villa Park. We've had people from out of state, Rockford, Chicago, they're coming from all over because it's advertised on social media. Our initial approach was, hey, it's kids, they're just trying to have fun, we're gonna try to regulate this. But when you're affecting everybody's businesses, the Range is a new one, they've been calling and complaining every week. They've actually took our advice and they bought the gates, but the problem is they're parking there while the business is still open. There's only so much we can do. I mean, you can't, we have several officers out there, but, you have a crowd, sometimes 1,000 people. There was probably, manager, when you rode, there had to have been at least 500-600 people out there.
Yeah.
So, if you really think about it, this event at Stratz is probably bigger than any other event we have in town that we're requiring everybody else to have permits for. So,
Trustee Kumar.
It looks like there needs to be some major event management and movement of the event itself away from its present location. Is it just ergonomically there over time that it's grown? Or what's the deal with that?
Well-
Because, you can't, initially you probably started out with 4 cars and that was fine, and then it just, has skyrocketed over time. Is
this
that
goes
the-
back many years. This goes back prior to Stratz being in Villa Park. Before Stratz was in Villa Park, they were in Franklin Park at Manheim and Grand, and they had the same problem there.
So it's tied to the Stratz.
Yes. This is-
Business, it's kind of, they need more space actually to run. Their model needs a lot more space than they have there, is what you're saying.
The events like these car, I want to say car show, but there's these groups that follow social media. A lot of times they go to Woodfield Mall where they have these huge lots on Woodfield Mall, but now you try to fit all these different people that are coming here on top of the Stratz crowd that normally comes. And that's the problem. You just
Yeah,
can't handle it.
but we have like mall space that's quite empty, and it makes sense that we move some of this stuff if possible elsewhere in our town. But the problem is Stratz is kind of, it's proprietary to them is what it looks like if it was happening in Franklin Park.
This is specific to Stratz, which is a
Yeah.
private, company.
Yeah.
And just one thing to,
Do they take ownership of this, or they do not take ownership of this? That's the question. Are they taking ownership of the activity, or they are just saying, oh, it just happens?
That's exactly what he's saying.
Okay.
It's just a bunch of customers showing
ownership.
up at the same time. But for 15 years, it's every Friday and Saturday, and we have a pole camera that's installed to monitor all the activity there. If you know that your business is gonna receive, hundreds of people every Friday, you have to take some precautions to make sure everybody's safe, make sure you're not affecting your neighboring businesses, parking lot, streets. And, I don't know how he can possibly do that. With the permits though, you'd be regulated to be open to a certain time. Usually in a permit, you can only have so many people in an event at one time, depending on your space. There's management of the event. Right now, there's no management of the event because in the
So-
past, even though our ordinance says any event in the village, it then talks about public streets, and it's been questionable whether or not our current ordinance applies to this or not.
Okay, so what suggestions would you have to improve the current ordinance in terms of like a listing? One, it looks like they need event management if it's gonna be above a certain level. What else do we need?
Well-
In the ordinance.
A lot of the
Suggested.
stuff is requirements that's in the ordinance now, but it needs to apply to private property event. So as part of his agreement that he has with the village, when he took civil action, is he had to put up fencing, like the orange fencing, to keep people away from the curbs. He had to hire, he agreed to hire 4 security guys every Friday and Saturday. This was also during COVID times, so there was a lot of COVID regulations in there. Another thing that's not in there is having a clear path for emergency vehicles to get through the lot. Right now, if an ambulance needs to get to the back of that lot when there's an event, that's gonna be pretty difficult to do. So there's just things that we need to add in there, not only for, his business, but just to have in general. So what we're looking at is what a lot of villages have done, if they've come up with like mass gathering events. And if you're gonna have a mass gathering event, you gotta make sure you have parking for this event, you gotta make sure you have security, make sure it's not gonna interfere or affect the public streets, the sidewalks, neighboring parking lots. So it's really just defining all that more, so we could take action if needed, or ask them to close down the event at a certain time, or,
I mean, if we're gonna draft an ordinance, I think we should draft a clean, clear ordinance that addresses more than the issues that maybe Strats has. Because I think with social media, this may not be the only problem that occurs in one corner of Villa Park. And I think that's why you want it to go through the
Yeah.
ordinances, because it is Strat's problem, this particular one, so they've brought it to our attention. But it could happen anywhere in any corner of Villa Park, depending on, who runs a new business and whose model works that way, So, I mean, obviously, the owner has a benefit from these. I mean, you're not gonna let things run in your place unless there's quite a, significant financial benefit, because the more people that come to your store, the more people buying stuff, and obviously there's a financial benefit to that. So I understand that. And so taking ownership of these activities, maybe a permit that is clear cut as to how much, how many people, what, per person charge, how many officers we need there, given so many people. I think all of that has to be vetted out and spelled out in this ordinance for things to work out in the future and work out properly. Because I think we have made strides to address the problem, but yet it seems not to be addressed.
We're trying to put a Band-Aid on it.
Yeah,
And this is-
it's a
Yeah,
Band-Aid on a
it's-
gaping wound.
I mean, most of the complaints from the residents come in about 10:30 at night, when people are trying to go to sleep. But the businesses, it's right off the bat. I mean, all the businesses are taken over pretty much, by 8:00.
This has actually been an issue that was brought up by my old neighbor, and he's been talking about it for years, like ever since, saying the noise that's coming, because people drive off on Ardmore, they drive off on others, and the cars are noisy. And so he did bring this to me at one point as well. So this is kind of the issue that we've been having on weekends, and sleep was a problem, and they're not even near there. I can picture some of our residents that are closer to Strats and how they are feeling if they can't actually address it. That doesn't mean we shouldn't have events. Yeah, exactly not. I think we need to address the event and kind of, if the event is such a fashion, have a backup plan and have a discussion as to where we can move it so that it is not such a.
Well, I don't think there's any place in
Anybody
Villa Park
wants it,
that
yeah.
that's gonna hold that.
No, I mean, it may be
The old
something to-
Odeum, maybe, but.
it may not be in Villa Park, but we might want to discuss it with that might be a starting point with, neighboring communities as well, to see what we can do to address it if that's, an issue, and there's, because.
Okay, I think trustee Patrick wants to say something.
Yeah.
Oh, trustee Patrick?
Only if she's finished. I'm not
I'm
going to
finished,
interrupt.
okay.
Okay, I apologize.
Yeah.
Thank you. This has been an issue for quite a while, since I've remembered being here in Villa Park too, and I've been here for quite a while. And while I'm not opposed to a business owner here in town trying to capitalize on making some money off of people attending their business, this has proposed quite a safety issue here in town, not just for our residents, but also for our officers. It's not a wise utilization of our resources, especially when our police department is already limited and could use some more bodies out there as well. The thing is, though, is that the Village of Villa Park is somewhat limited in what we can do, but what we do have at our disposal in our tool belt is specifically our ordinance. Our code of ordinance will help us with this, and I strongly agree with you, Chief, that this is something that needs to be looked at and talked about and discussed further, just so that way we could eliminate the safety issue here for our residents and our officers. And it doesn't just affect our officers, it also affects multiple municipalities that are affected by this as well, whether that be Elmhurst, Addison, Lombard, south of here, and Downers Grove, and so forth. And to your point, Chief, when you do have a call and nobody is there to attend to the disturbance calls, what do we do? And that's when mutual aid usually comes and helps us, taking away from their resources as well. So I think it's essential that we do discuss the ordinance in particular. And to Trustee Kumar's point is that we need this to be looked at thoroughly and to make sure that it outlines everything that we're addressing here. One of the recommendations that I would make then, and something that I have been trying to do all along, is empower our commissions a little bit more. I believe that this is an issue that should go also to our Traffic and Safety Commission, so that way they could further discuss this along, and I hope that you're able to join in those conversations, so that way we can come back with a bullet point list of what is actually needed to make an effective code of ordinance to help reduce some of these things. Now, I know that there are other resources and other options that we might have to help us enforce that. Do we have any flock cameras in the vicinity in which we can issue citations at a later date?
We do, yeah, we have them on North Avenue. We're also installing one on Ardmore. We have a couple on North Avenue.
But then again, that probably takes resources to review footage, to
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons we installed the pole camera was one, to show what's happening there. But also during the events, sometimes we will zoom up on all the people and plates, because, I mean, sometimes there's motorcycle shows and they'll be racing and
Yeah.
none of them really stop for the police,
and-
hardly any of them, so.
the motorcycles are even a bit more harder to stop out
Yeah,
there
it's-
than vehicles,
Right.
which also creates another safety concern for our officers and also the cyclist. So I would like to send this to Traffic and Safety for their next meeting, so that way they can discuss it as well and bring forth their recommendations and the chief's recommendations, so that we could fine tune this ordinance and maybe correct some of these issues.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Go ahead. There's-
Attorney Wolf would like to say something, yeah.
Just along those lines, there are probably two components to addressing the issue. One has to do with parking and maybe traffic and safety regulations that we can amend the village's code regarding. The other component of it has to do with the special events permitting requirements. And I believe at this stage, there's more of an urgency with respect to at least that component of it, so that we can require this establishment to get a special events permit if they are going to hold such a large gathering. So with this board's permission, I would recommend that we move forward with a code change with respect to the special events permit at our next meeting if we can. And then also, if you want to send the parking and traffic regulations to that committee for review, and then if further amendments are required to the code, we could do it that way as well.
So to your point, Attorney Wolf, I completely agree. However, what I will say is that with the two components, one, I'll say traffic and safety, the other being special events. I believe special events could also fall under our fund commission possibly, as well as that. Now, I understand the urgency of this. However, I believe that one of those commissions also should be involved with the planning of special events and talking about that ordinance. So that way we tackle this problem head on and don't leave any room for error because we are in such a hurry to take care of this issue. I do think it would be appropriate to have traffic and safety on this, and one of our other commissions, probably the fund commission, that also deals with special events.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the Fund Commission, if that's really their purview here. Actually, Traffic and Safety could probably look at the special events also.
Okay.
But like Attorney Wolf said, I think it's good to get this on the books as soon as we can. It can always go there for changes, which we can always come back and, if they want to tweak it or, make some changes. But yeah, no, I agree, the traffic and safety should probably look at this, so.
But that, to your point then too, I agree that having traffic and safety on there will help us come to better terms with that as well. But as long as there's an understanding as well, is that ordinance, if we go forth with it due to timing, that we all know that we can come back to this topic at any time and correct it as we go, especially if there's newer recommendations or better recommendations brought forth by traffic and safety.
Yeah, and especially if we see that it's not working, the police department's going to be able to be aware of what's going on. Okay,
Thank you.
good. Trustee Cordova?
I like the idea of putting a time limit. If it's an event, and they're probably not calling it an event, it's just a thing that happens, an organic gathering of people that just happen to go there on Friday and Saturday. We know what that is. Time limit, let's fine them. I mean, I've seen it, driving around, going to Target, coming back, and we have to go all the way around, right? Not that that's the problem, but it's the safety. I've seen cars flying down there, motorcycles doing, 360s. On Sunday morning, if you go and there's no rain or anything like that, you'll see the burnout marks all through there. It's dangerous. So time limit, let's fine them. Every time it happens, if you have to send an extra police officer, let's have them pay for it. I mean, we have a lot of flexibility here. So if it's a major safety issue, which it is, I mean, I'm reading it, we have the ability to shut it down pretty aggressively too, and quick.
Yep.
Let's do it.
Trustee Kozar?
Are you looking for an ordinance specific to Strats or more of a village-wide ordinance?
Well, I mean, it would be a village-wide ordinance. I mean, these mass gatherings could pop up anywhere. I mean, right now, Strats is the issue at hand we're dealing with. But, I mean, who's to say another business wouldn't start doing the same type of car shows and not have any regulations in place,
What does Wildfire do when they have their big events?
Wildfire actually applies for a permit.
Okay.
Yep. Even though it's on their private property, they've had no issues. This particular issue was brought up before, back in 2020, and that was brought up. If we pass this ordinance that affects Strats, does it affect everybody else? And when we really looked at other events that are happening, most of the businesses are already applying for permits. As I said, this is probably the biggest event that happens in town, and it's the only one that doesn't have a permit.
I've been to the Wildfire events, and they manage those relatively well.
Yeah, and they hire a couple officers for them too. There's never really been any issues at theirs. But Strats is much, much bigger.
According to the memo that went along with this, you're looking to try to get this on the books for the next meeting on April 8th, I think is what it said. And then it also said you'd like to see, not you, but the memo, would like to see it, the first reading waived. So to that regard, can we, as this progresses, can you start sending us regular email updates so we can see what the initial outline is, things of that sort? I recognize that our discussion will have to wait until we actually have a meeting, but it'd be nice to kind of see the evolution of it. If you're looking for something that's going to happen that quickly. And then to Kevin's point, whatever gets on the books, if it happens on April 8th, can be modified at the very next meeting if that's necessary, and the following meeting after that. So, it can be a work in progress till it gets figured out, if it gets figured out, or it might naturally heal itself.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the businesses.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Trustee Patrick?
My question is for Attorney Wolf. Can we legally fine and enforce a business owner if he has not taken part in the planning of an event like this? I understand that if people come to his property and there's a time limit, he is responsible for getting them off his property in a timely manner. But if he is unaware that these events aren't going to happen or might not happen, how do we enforce him to fill out a application for a special event permit and then also fine him if that happens?
Well, in this case, it doesn't appear to be the case that the owner of the establishment doesn't know. But if the village had the cooperation of the owner of the establishment, the police could go on site and ticket those individuals that are on the property, and therefore are trespassing. And there would be more opportunity for the village to take enforcement measures if they had the cooperation of the property owner in that regard.
So as of right now, we do not have the cooperation of the property owner, and we also do not have the ability to go on to private property to enforce any of this. So we don't expect him to change this anyways, but if he's not responsible for implementing these car shows, which we've already established that social media plays a big part in spreading the word about these events, my question is, can we legally enforce something on his property if he is unaware of when or if these are going to happen?
Well, if the property owner is allowing it to continue, then you'd be able to do that. If the event popped up and the property owner was allowing that large event to continue without having gotten a permit, you would be able to take some enforcement measures. You know, one of the other components of this, if I could bring it up,
Yeah,
is
certainly.
the settlement agreement that was entered into with Strats in 2020 appears to have been violated. And as part of that agreement, the village agreed to dismiss certain violations for this same conduct. And according to the agreement, if it's breached, the village can move forward with the prosecution of those citations that were, in essence, forgiven via the settlement agreement. So that's another measure that the village could take in enforcing this issue. And, you know, we should probably get some consensus from the board if you would like the village to move forward on, setting hearings for those stayed citations.
Me personally, yes, I would like for that to happen. I think we should take that consensus as well. I think this is an important topic that we need to address. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here to see, this has been a problem that has lasted 15 plus years. Does this then become a code enforcement issue, or will the police department also be able to issue those citations?
We issued the citations back in 2020. So the citations we issued back in 2020 were related to noise complaints, noise ordinance violations. We did issue some citations for traffic backup due to the event, but we stayed away from like permitting, and at the end of the day, it's a planned event, it's happening every weekend, he knows it's gonna happen. So it seems to us the easiest enforcement would be through a permit.
Okay.
He actually advertises it
Yeah.
on their Facebook page. It says Motorcycle Mania every Wednesday night. Also, late model muscle cars Friday and Saturday, open till 2 a.m. weather permitting. That's an event.
Yep.
That's right on Facebook.
And we have documented all these events and video, police reports. We've saved calls for service back in 2020. We were keeping the track of every single call, every accident, every traffic stop, every fight that's happened in the lot. So there's a lot of documentation there to back. It's just our fear is, we've always had the understanding that our permitting is really for a public event in the public streets, not something that applies to private property. And that, there's a 50-50, it may apply, but let's get stronger language. A lot of towns have already done this. I mean, we have several towns, we found ordinances that are already in place that have good language that address this specifically, so.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Manager Harlan, want to say?
Yeah, well, I'll go ahead and jump in, but there's a couple things that we'd like to also see in this, and that is some escalating issue with it. Right now, it's a $150 fine if you don't get a permit, a special use permit. Special use permits are required if you're going to need police help, and obviously there's police assistance required here. Crazy Pour pays for police assistance when it's for their Kentucky Derby. As mentioned, Wildfire does for their events. Lots of events are required to pay for police assistance through the special use permit. And, I think that Trustee Cordova's point that he is aware of this and makes mention of that as a website is a key part of this, because our officers are finding the social media posts, and they're not usually on Facebook, they're on these other social media sites where they, call out, say, show up at Strats. But, I think that the idea that they're unknown, I think we've got enough evidence that that's not really true. But we need to, have some, before you find somebody, you have to have evidence that you can present in court. So I think that's part of it. I think part of it is, looking at the past agreement and making sure it still applies. It's, a few years old, but that can be part of it. I just want to make sure that one of the reasons coming here is make sure there's the stomach for trying to make the goal is to make it more costly to continue to act this way than to do it properly, pay for the police protection that's necessary. And it's not just on his property. That's one of the biggest things. If he could keep this on his property, contain it, some of the kids, their kids are pretty young there, and they're asking for stickers from the cops as we drove through. So there's, you got some, decent people there, but there's too many of them. And one of my greatest fears is somebody's going to get excited and start street racing. They're going to miss a turn and they're going to run over about 5 kids in the median. And I think that's entirely possible. I think approaching this from multiple angles is good. I think I hear the support of the board. We don't want to harass any business. And I think running it through other commissions is fine. Fun Commission, we're on this tomorrow night, so we can't add it to their agenda. It's too late. And anyone can bring it up there. The next meeting of the Traffic and Safety Commission is April 2nd, so we could possibly have their input on this beforehand. And I'd be happy to share drafts of an ordinance to move forward on this. Okay, thanks.
Trustee Alfano.
Thank you. I think that it is important that we look at this village-wide. I attended some of these when I was in high school in Franklin Park, and I know that it started off very small, and then it ended up being a much bigger event, and it was something that people looked forward to, and it started to draw a lot of people into our area where I grew up in high school. But then it would carry over into other businesses once we were asked to leave, or once people were asked to leave. And then it would go to another business and another business and another business. And so I do think that village-wide ordinance is something to look at when it comes to these particular instances. I'm wondering, how many accidents would you say in a summer?
And
Roughly.
it's hard to say. I
Okay.
mean, a lot of times they'll peel out of the lot and they'll go out of control and hit the median there. Was it last summer? I think we did have the fatal motorcycle accident at North and Villa. How much Strats had to do with that, I can't say. I think the car was coming from Strats, but that was just an accident that happened in the area. So it's hard to say.
Okay.
It's hard to say for sure.
Yeah, it's a very densely populated
Yeah.
event when it's run there. Thank you.
Trustee Kumar.
So I'm fine with the special use permit doing all that, but everything is about price and cost. I think if you don't make it high enough and you don't make it worthy enough, what's going to happen is, getting the permit is not going to solve the problem. So we need to make it high enough, expensive enough, and, strict enough so that it stops. So that's where we're all, getting to. Though intrinsically, I don't want to stop supporting Strats. It's a good business, right? So intrinsically, we also have to make it fair to have businesses to have a certain, it's a balance here. Balancing it right, so many people can be there, accountability of the number of people, the restrictions on the parking lot. And I think that's where Trustee Patrick's point comes in, that traffic and safety might give us a good vision, along with, of course, our staff who have been dealing with this, quite frankly, for 15 years now. So I think it's going to take a kind of a multifaceted approach to actually address this problem. And I'm actually throwing out a question to Attorney Wolf. If we just put in one thing, how do we keep the ordinance in the books and, in new business for some time until we address the whole issue point by point by point? Because it's not enough I honestly think the special permit is not going to solve the problem fully, right? There's more to that, to this issue than a special permit. So he pulls a special permit. What does that give the village the ability to do completely?
So can you clarify the question that you're asking? Are you
No,
asking
two
about
things.
the
One,
ability to talk about?
when a special permit is pulled, what are the restrictions and the fining ability and the ability to stop this event that are a part of that special permit, or will be a part of that special permit?
Well, we'll have to look at the village code. It would be identified in the village code what the ability the village has with respect to like ceasing the operation of that special event, but then also the fines that can be imposed and the other enforcement measures that can be taken for that special event. So those are provisions that will be clarified and brought forward to the board for approval.
Because it's not intrinsically that there's a problem because it's a special event. It's a problem because it's a special event too big for its space.
And
right? And it's not following any of that. So our definition of special event has to be very clear cut in order to make it effective to stop this.
that's correct. And then the enforcement measures have to be prohibitive enough or deterring enough so that an establishment will get the appropriate permit, will take the appropriate measures so that event is controlled, because there are costs that are being implicated upon the village with respect to its.
I can think of a simple thing. If you have 100 cars there that can be allowed, if you put 101, a really steep fine for car number 101. Whatever it is, something that stops it at that limit that owner says no. So we got to do that.
And that's why we'll look at the settlement agreement that was done in 2020, because there are provisions in there for pretty significant costs.
Yeah, but it looks like we haven't actually sent it or got any money off of that settlement.
Well, that's why we'll do a consensus vote on this.
Yeah.
When we get done with our discussion.
Okay, yeah, because it's not effective unless you use the tool for effectively.
Trustee Alfano.
Chief, you mentioned some other municipalities had some codes on the books. Can you reference some of those municipalities that you?
Well, I think Tinley Park was one.
Okay.
Oh, good.
And there's,
DeKalb. Yeah, you have DeKalb, Oak Brook, Tinley Park, Wheaton. They all have, when you look at all of them, they all have certain language that applies to us. Not one ordinance is perfect, but one may address the parking issue more than the other. And one, some of them address, a mass gathering, how many people. I don't know if that's something, we want to say 500 people and above, because how do we know how many people are in that lot? How many people are driving around trying to get in? It's really, we're just trying to make it stronger so we could prevent them taking over all the business parking lots. If you're gonna have an event, you don't have the parking for it. You gotta close it down at a certain point. And even if the event was just contained to his business, which there are nights when, it's not as busy and it's just in his business, but they're going until 2 o'clock in the morning with muffler bombs going off all night and waking up the whole neighborhood. So there really should be some type of time limit. And when you gotta put an end to the show, you know,
So I understand that the time limit is one factor.
yeah.
Then the amount of cars there is another factor, it looks like. The fines are another factor. So I think all of these have to be vetted out. I hope staff prepare something given, and the
Yeah,
noise
that's-
factor, you know, given all those things, and have a discussion. But I also, the second question I had for you, Attorney Wolf, is suppose we get it, you know, the ordinance drafted, but is there a way to put it on the book so it comes back to us in a month or couple months that we look at it at a certain point?
You mean on the agenda?
Yeah,
Put it on the agenda?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can, the village manager can put it on the agenda. I think also.
With like a certainty, like in 3 months, we will revisit this, or in a couple, because it'll take a while to see if whatever we do works or not, you know, like within 6 months or whatever.
Yeah, we can do that. We can do that without putting it in the ordinance. We can just make sure it comes up a couple of months. Probably, it would probably take 3 months.
Well, I'm not
really
saying
to-
put it in the
see, yeah.
ordinance, I'm just saying, yeah,
Okay.
And any ordinance will be drafted, so that it is not strat-specific. It's to take care of the situation. And I think one of the things that would be useful to have the Fund Commission look at is make sure that while we're trying to define this problem, that we don't create a new problem, because, you know, that we do something that says you can't do this, and it turns out that, you know, well-meaning people who are trying to have an event can't do something. So it's, you know, there's always that chance of unintended consequences, but this is something, I mean, this is literally a life and death matter. If somebody does, you know, we didn't get a lot of racing the night I was there, but it's not uncommon, and, you know, those kids have no protection if a car goes over that median. So that's, I think that's, to me, that's the most important thing, is we don't get some kid killed who's just there for, you know, a couple milkshakes and a good time. So anyway, but we will look into the escalating fines. I think the time limit is a nice thing to put in there, and noise factors. There, you know, we have noise ordinances too, so that, you know, can be wrapped up into this. And then the parking on other people's lots. If we, you know, work with both Strat and the neighboring property owners to try and, you know, make this peaceful. So, I mean, I don't think there's. I mean, I have not met the man yet. I don't know, you know, but I don't think he's doing this to hurt other people. I think he's doing it because there's, you know, he sells a lot of milkshakes, and these kids, most of these are young people. I say kids, some of them aren't kids. You know, they're looking for something to do on a Friday and Saturday night. This isn't a very safe way to do it, though.
Also, with the special events permitting, is there going to be a prorating depending on the number of people you apply? How does that work?
Well, we haven't, so far right now, a special event permit just by itself is $75. But the thing that makes it cost is if you have to have police, and police are $75 an hour, and that's not covering 100% of the cost. Or actually, I think it's $50 an hour with a special event, which is
But it's not defined then.
per
'cause-
officer.
Yeah, how do we know if you need police or not? Some person is gonna say, yes, we need it, and someone is not gonna say no, and then you get into that gray area, so.
We've worked with groups in the past on this, and you know, some people don't want to pay it, and we say, well, you know, based on the event, we know that this group needs, this event needs multiple officers.
Is it okay to specify with this many people that we need an officer or so many officers within the ordinance itself?
We've done that before. We've done that before with, in
With-
fact, with Crazy
I mean, I think
Port,
we could
yeah.
put it in the special ordinance, right? Just specify if it's more than this many people, we are, and we will charge you at one point for it. You know, like, it'll be charged later or whatever, but you will get that charge. I think that should be in the ordinance for preventing this in the future. Like, in other places too, like if you have 200 people on your property and then an officer has to come out there, then there should be the ability of the village to charge for those services.
That's what we're trying to get at. Yep, thank you.
Okay, good. Okay, anyone else? Okay, Clerk Kornacki, can we have a consensus on seeing the village and village attorney about enforcing the agreement from October 21st, 2020 with the owners of Strats?
Okay. Trustee Patrick,
Yes.
Trustee Alfano,
Yes.
and Trustee Cordova,
Yes.
Trustee Kozar.
I'm trying to understand why we need a consensus to enforce a settlement agreement. Like, do we not enter into a settlement agreement and then the settlement agreement itself dictates, or is that something that always has to come back to the board for the board to get involved with?
Well, I think at this point, it was just not being enforced, and we probably don't need a consensus, but this is a good way to show that the board is,
So do we have
Getting
other
to-
settlement agreements that aren't being enforced?
Not that I'm aware of.
It doesn't really put us in much of a position of power if we have a tradition of entering settlement agreements and not enforcing them.
Yeah, I
So are
don't
you
think-
in support of enforcing it then, based upon the terms of the settlement agreement?
I'm trying to just understand
It wasn't enforced.
why we have why we have the need to have a consensus to enforce a settlement agreement.
You're not obligated to pursue the remedies under the settlement agreement. So since it was up for discussion, the, staff and the attorney were seeking direction from the board if that's the direction that they wanted to go. It's the recommendation that if there is a remedy to pursue under the settlement agreement, that the village should pursue it, especially in light of the situation and lack of compliance to date.
Okay. So I would support it.
Okay, so that's a yes.
That's a yes.
Thank you. Trustee Kumar,
I definitely support the settlement. Yes.
okay, and President Kazone.
Yes.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so we will start looking at getting some enforcement on this.
Thank you.
Okay, item 16 is Village Commission reports. The Environmental Concerns Commission minutes, January 25th, 2024.
I have a quick segue. Have you guys tried to bring the guy from Strats into the village to have a discussion?
We haven't this year, but they've had multiple, that we will. I just haven't had a chance to get to do
I
that
mean-
yet.
I mean, if we're enforcing, is it not, should we legally not be doing that, or yes or no?
He will have to be brought in to enforce it,
Okay.
but he has not been very cooperative when dealing with them. Is that correct, Chief?
He has followed some of the, when this agreement went through, he did follow a lot of things in the agreement for a while, but it fell off after a while. And then, yes, when he was approached by the prior village manager and the prior police chief, he was less than cooperative. Yeah, I mean, he did comply with the order because he did have to pay a fine as part of that agreement. But as we can see now, there's not 4 security guys, there's not fencing, keeping kids away from the streets, so it's difficult to get him to comply with the orders.
Okay. Okay, let's go on. The Community Fund Commission minutes of November 28th, 2023, and January 23rd, 2024. Environmental Concerns, Bike, Pedestrian, and Transit Subcommittee, January 25th, 2024. Parks and Rec Advisory Commission, February 13th, 2024, and Traffic and Safety Commission minutes, February 6th, 2024 meeting. Those are all in our packets. Okay, item 17, Village Clerk's Report.
No report, thank you.
Okay, Village Trustees Report, we will start on my left. Trustee Alfano.
Thank you. So I did have it, I'm not sure if this would go under unfinished business for our next meeting, but for the Gaza resolution, I had one question on the final proof. There was one that was referenced in a Daily Herald article, and it did not have some of the proposed changes in it. I'm not sure if we're going to see that, if we're going to see the final version before it's signed, but I would like to revisit that for a brief moment just to see that those changes were made.
The switch with 1 and 20 hasn't made, it's been signed, and the final version has been sent to the edited version was sent to the Daily Herald, so
Okay.
they have that.
All right, thank you. Then it hasn't
Yeah.
been, the link hasn't been updated. Thank you. Also, I'm reviewing the printed budget, and there are a number of errors that should have been addressed with a proof before sending it off to the printer. I would say that this isn't necessarily a huge issue, but at the top of most pages, it does still say a 2023 budget. Our current board is not accurate in the front page, and if we mix that with other errors and recent oversights, I would just advise that we have a careful proof and just take time when we are sending things out and just take a pause, make sure that we're double checking everything. I think that would eliminate some of the erroneous errors. I want to congratulate the Willowbrook High School Theater Department. They went to state. I will read what they put out on Facebook. Congratulations to Willowbrook High School Theater for earning second place overall and second place in tech in the IHSA Illinois High School Association Drama State Final Competition on March 23rd for their IHSA contest play, The Cripple of Inishmun. The cast members also earned all-state cast honors, and the students were welcomed home with an escort from the Villa Park Police Department. So thank you to our Villa Park Police Department for that. And thank you to the athletic director Sullivan and to Principal Kraus for arranging a fan bus as well. I know that our theater students really appreciated that. And one final thing, I have been contacted about some solicitation signs around town that are on light poles that are too high for removal. I was asked to mention that and see if there's anything that we can do about that. People have been trying to remove them on their own. They're not able to, so I thought I would address that as well. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Kumar.
I don't have much this week, except I have been contacted by a few residents complaining about multiple panhandlers getting in the way during diving and the safety on different streets. I do not know how we could address that. I know that Oak Brook Terrace has a law that addresses it and signs. I do not know what our board would like to do, but it's something that if we're talking about safety, we should address at one point.
Well, as far as the panhandling, there was a case law that took place probably a couple of years ago. Basically says we can't force any laws on panhandling. The laws we did have were overturned. So as long as they're not blocking traffic, they can panhandle. I know Oak Brook did pass an ordinance. We'll see where that goes, but if you Google Downers Grove, Village of Downers Grove lawsuit for panhandling, it'll come right up. They actually had the same ordinance and they had civil action against them, and they, as far as to my knowledge, they lost based on recent case law. So unfortunately, we get the complaints all the time at Walmart and North and Addison with the guy that's there every day.
It's also at Roosevelt and
Summit.
Summit. There's a lady there always in
Yeah.
between, and
It can be.
many times I'm afraid for her more than anything.
Now, if
the
they're
cars-
blocking traffic, then it's different. But most of the time, they're in the middle and they're on the little middle area there.
She steps in traffic all the time.
all the
but-
time.
Yeah.
And so it's something that I'm actually afraid something is going to happen to her. So, I mean, it becomes, and that's my personal thing. And other people have mentioned it to me overall. Also, coming out of Willowbrook, there's always a panhandler there with kids and other things on the lawn. There can be quite a few safety issues for that panhandler, and how do we address, is there something we can do is all, I mean, I understand the need and I understand poverty. It does exist, and there are some ways that people, there's multiple reasons why it happens, that there's panhandling. However, I mean, literally, just yesterday, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, I was driving on that corner of, and she just came out of nowhere and next to the
Yeah, she
Walgreens.
kind of veers off the median.
Yeah, and then she's always off the median, and it's dangerous for her. It's dangerous God forbid someone hits someone, that's dangerous for them too. So that's something we need to,
I'll let our officers know to watch her and talk to her, let her know she's got to stay on the parkway, or if she's in the middle of the road, they got to be in the center.
There's no median there. She's just coming off the side,
Just
the
between
Bank of
lanes.
America side.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's just, it's a bit sad, that's all.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Anything else? Trustee Kumar?
No, I'm good for today.
Okay. Trustee Patrick?
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. We have two very important guests in attendance at our meeting tonight that I would like to recognize and introduce to you. First of all, we have Olivia Sinise and Natalie Munoz, who are both student sign language interpreters working on one of their final projects before they get their certification. So they are here tonight providing a valuable service to our community, and once they move on from here, get to provide this service to other communities as well. So they are in attendance here tonight, both Olivia and Natalie. Thank you for being here. Thank you for what you're doing. Much appreciated. So there we go. Lastly, board members, Trustee Kozar and myself, last week had the honor of accepting an award on behalf of the Village of Villa Park that was given to us from the Islamic Foundation of Villa Park. I'll sit down so everybody could see this. But the village was recognized and awarded this award. It says, "We would like to recognize the services the Village of Villa Park for their support for the Muslim community in pursuit of peace and harmony around the world." From the Islamic Foundation of Villa Park, dated March 21st, 2024 of this year. We are presented with this, and I am now handing it off to the rest of this board. Go ahead and take that, move it that way. This was a very special honor. It was a very informative and very interesting meeting that we got to go to, where we got to talked about the celebration of Ramadan and the holiday and its significance in the community. There are other faiths there as well, but it was a great opportunity for our communities to combine and to talk with each other and to understand one another. It was an honor being invited. It was an honor to be there, and we had no idea that they were going to present us with this award, so it was a little bit more special than two. So this is what the board has earned due to the resolution that was passed back there. I have gotten countless emails of thanks from the community for supporting something like this, and I believe that the resolution that was passed is very fair and firm. I mean, and I am so proud to have been on this board that has been a part of this. I really am. I've been on this board for almost 6 years now, and this is one of my proudest moments up here. So I want to personally thank each and every one of you for being a part of this. It is a significant contribution to our community, and it also lets our residents know that our elected officials up here work for them. We are there for you to hear your concerns and do our best to come up with solutions. So to the rest of my fellow board members, thank you for being a part of this. This is an award that's well-deserved, and you should be proud of it, and I hope that the village could find a nice spot to showcase this. That is all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Trustee Cordova?
No report.
Okay. Trustee Kozar?
So to kind of piggyback on what Kevin was saying, it was a wonderful event last Thursday over at the Islamic Foundation. And next year, I think it'd be a lot of fun if we could get all the trustees and their families to come and we can all break bread together, break the fast, and that would be a nice event. So we've got a year to plan for it. Let's see what we can do. But it was nice to be honored in that way. But it was also an honor itself just to be invited and to be able to spend time with everybody. So thank you for that.
Okay. And go on to Village President's Report. I'd like to say too, I was not able to be there when the award was given. I had a previous meeting to go to, but I got there later. I've been to several of these interfaith dinners that the Islamic Foundation puts on, and it's a very moving dinner. There's no pretension, there's no religion there. It's everybody is residents of Villa Park or Lombard, or we're part of the community, and it's a extremely moving dinner, and I'm sorry that I missed the presentation of the award, but it's a very good place to go. And like Trustee Kozar said, we'll have to do it all next year. Coffee with the board will be Saturday, April 6th, 9 o'clock up here in the board meeting. This past Wednesday, March 20th, the village manager, myself, and Director Guerra had a Zoom call with a representative from Canadian National Railroad regarding the grade crossing at Addison and close to North Avenue there. We've been trying to get in touch with them for 6 months, and we finally got a meeting with them, and the representative promised us she would look into it, and we've got another meeting with her on April 3rd. So hopefully we'll get some answers and maybe possibly get that southbound lane, that crossing fixed, hopefully sometime this year. We'll see what happens. Anyone's been by the rec center? The walls are up. I believe all of them are up, correct? Or do they have any more left?
I think
Last
all,
time I seen.
I think all the precast is up.
Yeah, so it's taken shape as a building, so the construction is moving on, and hopefully we're all on schedule. We'll get things going. Finally, I got a letter from American Wind Band about a free concert and scholarship performance on Sunday, April 21st of 2024. It's going to be held at the Elmhurst Christian Reformed Church located at 149 West Brush Hill Road in Elmhurst at 3 o'clock. Features performances by their musical scholarship competition winners. So they're inviting, it's an open, free concert. More information can be found at their website, AmericanWindBand.org. And I did get a text from a resident regarding a local pizza establishment, Genorio's Pizza in Lombard. There's a WGN contest for the best pizzas around. And if you go on their website and look up their pizza contest, Genorio's has made it into the final 8. So if you get online, vote for their pizza, and possibly we'll have a local establishment voted #1 in the Chicago area.
It's not Villa Park.
I know it's not Villa Park, but Keith's a good guy. So. Okay, we'll go to the village manager's report.
I don't have a lot. First of all, I just realized because of the email from Trustee Kozar that my weekly report I didn't manage to get the board in the BCC. So if you ever don't get a village weekly report from me, and I don't at least say that you're not getting a weekly report, please contact me. And then the other thing I want to point out is that attended the July 4th committee this week, and we are with the requests for people to be sponsors or participants in the July 4th parade will be coming out. It will be on July 4th and 10 a.m. We're going to stick with the same route. And we had a pretty successful, I thought we had a very successful event last year. And because we were able to recruit some sponsors, we have some seed money to try and make it even a little bit bigger this year. I know we've already gotten a confirmation from the Willowbrook band that they'll be there. So, I think it's going to be a great event, and hopefully we continue to get favorable weather. And that's all I had. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, we have no executive session, so we will go motion for an adjournment. Motion, Trustee Kumar, second by Trustee Alfano. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, well, thank you for everyone being here. Our next meeting will be April 8th. Have a great week. Thank you.